Stream.
Oh, by the way, after we finish the stream, do you think I can get a link to it?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, because my parents wanted to really see it.
Okay. Twitch
Now-
has accepted the stream.
I should have told you before we started
What?
streaming.
No, he's not too late. YouTube has accepted the stream.
Think Twice Radio is our Facebook page.
Yeah, I got that.
If she can probably catch us live if she hops on.
Oh.
And I'm going to send you the
dang.
stream in a matter of
Oh, that
minutes. And you can text her before the show starts and
Oh.
say we're getting ready to go on the air.
Okay, where's my phone at? I just had it on. Oh,
Okay,
there it is.
Facebook has accepted the stream. Now I'm going to ask Facebook to give me the link.
Hi everyone.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Oh, I see it.
Okay, now I'm going to give you the link.
That was fast.
Should I send it to you on Facebook Messenger?
I think he found it already.
He found it already. Okay,
Yep, I'm
he's all
sending
set.
it to people. And
Mm-hmm.
Do you need the link for anything, Ladesha?
I am all right. I'm actually too nervous for them to watch live. I'll send it myself.
Okay. All right. So, as soon as he's ready, we can go on. We can start the show.
All right.
all right.
Okay, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, Ladesha, you see the 5 on the screen?
Yes, sir.
When that says on the air, you're on the air, okay?
Okay.
All right. Wait a minute. I always like to make a backup copy. Okay. Here we go.
All right. We are on the air. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in with us today. I will get right to our special guest today. But first, we always like to start by giving a huge shout out to Richard here in the studio at Think Twice Radio, and to our crew over at Buff State, Go Buff State, WBNY Radio, 91.3 FM, if you ever want to tune in. And everybody that's on Facebook, Twitch, and our other streams. This is Talking Peace with the Western New York Peace Center. I am your host, LaDeja Williams. And before we get to it, we always like to do land acknowledgements. We do like to acknowledge that we are on sacred land, Seneca, Haudenosaunee land. And we always like to make sure that we acknowledge the sun, the moon, the stars, the land, the animals, the humans, the water, everything, just to make sure that we give thanks. And now I would like to introduce to you guys our special guest, Emmanuel Rogers. He is a Buffalo State University student and artist. Welcome, Emmanuel. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me here. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. No problem. So now that we've gotten into our introduction, I want to start things off by asking you, what are your values when it comes to peace and when it comes to art?
My values when it comes to peace is definitely a huge factor, positivity. You know, everywhere I go, I really try to spread as much positivity as I possibly can, because we live in this world where there's a lot of negative things that go on. And, you know, I really just want everybody to stop and be like, us as humans, we need to appreciate ourselves, because, we only have one life. We can only live as much as we can. So I really value positivity. Peace definitely has to do with positivity. And when it comes to art specifically, I believe it mostly has to do with your creativity and showing the world who you truly are. One of the biggest goals I have in my life is, before I leave, is I want to leave my footprint. I want to show people that I was here in some positive way, no matter how it was, no matter what it was. I just want to show people that, I was here at one point and I was doing something to, make people smile and happy. So
I like that. I really like that. Thank you for sharing. When I think about my values as it pertains to peace, of course, and I talk about this on the show a lot, I just think of peace of mind. Like you said, positivity also, always. Every time I think of peace, it's a positive. But peace of mind, because I think that's where it starts. You know, the way that you think, how you take things in, choosing to just take a moment, take a breath before jumping into certain things, or knowing that you can take anything on as long as you just take a moment. So definitely peace of mind for me. Values when it comes to art. I think that I love the fact that anybody can be a part of it. Art is not just one form. It's so many different forms. There's body art. There's, artwork art, like drawing art. And then, you got tattoo artists and you got painters. And I think it's just no limits to where art can go. So I just like that it's just so broad and everybody can be a part of it. So I got you here on the show today because I thought it was very interesting. And let me tell you guys, Emmanuel is a classmate of mine, a Buff State. And I asked him to come on the show because I was just so fascinated at how he does his notes. You want to talk a little bit about that for me?
So, the way I do my notes is actually very interesting. And, this has a little bit of lore behind it. Ever since I was a kid, I always used to doodle on my papers. My teachers used to ask me, why are you always doodling on your papers? Like, you're never doing your work. But in reality, it helped me a lot because I was not only was I doing my work, but I was staying focused. The reason why I doodle all the time is it actually helps with my anxiety because, I would like to stay focused and I would like to stay calm. So I do draw time and time again. So, when she sees me draw in class, she knows, oh, he's just doing his notes or something like that. But also, this note-taking style actually started last year in my visual communication class with Professor Neiman. And I remember he said in the very beginning, he said any form of notes counts, even visual notes. So if you like to draw pictures, you can do that. And when he said that, I was just like, that's my opportunity. So every single day, of course, I would have my regular written notes, but I would also have doodles based on topics that we have went over in class. So if I had to give a little example, just recently we did talk about how racism can be a very complex structure. And what I usually do with that is I usually do drawings, let's say, of like neighborhoods, like, because we would compare and contrast certain neighborhoods. So first we'll do the upper middle class. So I'll draw like a regular house and mailbox and all that stuff. And then I would do middle class and low class, and I'll just draw things like that. But it doesn't have to be exactly that. It can pretty much be anything, like another example I can bring up is we also recently watched a video on how Disney has been a part of the social structure for a good bit. And what I did is I wrote notes based on the main topics. One of the main topics being the unfortunate racial stereotypes in Disney cartoons. And what I'll do is I'll draw like I don't know, just a picture of a Disney character. So one of the interesting ones I did on my paper, I don't know if I'll be able to show it today because it was in my notebook, but one of the interesting ones.
If it's up here, I would like to go.
Yeah, but none of those are on my Instagram yet. But the one I specifically did recently in my notebook is it's a very muscular and dominant version of Mickey Mouse, and I kind of drew that to represent how much authority and how much power Disney has within the entire world, because a lot of journalists and a lot of people were afraid of talking about that. So I kind of imagine Disney as like this huge humongous bodyguard just staring at you like, okay, try me if you want to. Try to talk about me and try to spread propaganda and lies, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So when it comes to my note taking, it pretty much it depends on what topics we're talking about. It can pretty much just be random doodles if I'd like to, but it pretty much is a mixture between a specific topic that we're talking about and also my regular notes. So.
Okay. And I actually want to show some of your artwork while we're talking about it.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and show the people. Look at this, you guys. We have an artist on our hands. And this one right here that I'm circling on, you actually did this in class, right?
Yes, that very first one is actually a project I did for my visual communication class last semester. So the point behind that one was to potentially do, like those billboards you see, like, okay, if you looked at that billboard in 40 seconds, what message would you gain from that? So basically, we had to create a picture that was represented as an advertisement in a positive light. So I decided to represent giving yourself positive energy and giving yourself self-love.
I don't know what I'm doing here, if you can tell. Positive light, positive energy.
Right.
I kind of
right.
see that. I see the devil and the angel over here
Yeah.
too, and he's looking towards the angel for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I did that stereotypical, in cartoons where it's like, oh, I got the angel and the devil on my shoulder. So I did the angel a little bit bigger because that represents the positive light that people need in their lives. And of course, the devil, he's on the other side because that represents the negative things that you don't need.
Right.
So yeah, that's the story behind that flick.
Those shoulder references are always being used. I just used it last week telling my cousin she was looking to the right shoulder a little bit. But look at this artwork, you guys. I think this is amazing.
Thank you.
And come on, we were talking about hopping into the comic world. So I did want to ask you a little bit about that. So
Okay.
it looks like you already have been I don't know if these are practice sketches, if you already have an idea or you're already working on one.
So actually, I've been doing this ever since I was actually 15. Like these original characters, because since I was 6, I just drew, and I drew characters such as Goku, all those wonderful cartoon characters that we know as kids. But when I was 15, I told myself, I was just like, you know what, let me start making my own characters, and I'm going to tell myself, hey, this is what I want to do, and I want to become one of the first, or probably not even one of the first, but just one of the black artists that are able to make their own official original artwork based off of their ideas. So I'm actually working on a graphic novel right now. It's probably going to take a long time, but the concept is actually, the title is called The Future of My Dream. And basically the whole premise of this graphic novel is this individual named Leon. And what I like to do with these comics that I'm probably going to do in the future is I liked some of the characters to relate to my personality or people that I have met and know in my life. So yeah, definitely. I might put you in there. But, when it comes to this character, his whole goal, he wants to be a scholar. He wants to be just as good as his dad because his dad has a PhD. He's doing wonderful. But one day, potentially a nuclear war breaks out, and the entire human race is wiped out from the planet. Of course, his father was able to build him a nuclear bunker and told him to stay in there. And he, of course, unfortunately, he lost his father. But years later, he would grow up, and potentially this whole entire story is psychological horror, because Leon is going to be confronting this entity called the personification of loneliness. And I drew this all black figure with white eyes that will be following him throughout the graphic novel. And the whole goal of this entity is to tell Leon that there is no human alive and he is the very last one left. And the only reason why Leon is still going on this adventure is because he thinks his father is still alive. But unfortunately, he'll find out throughout the story that this whole entire thing is not real. Like, he would start to realize, okay, I'm starting to slightly go insane based off of no human life being around me.
Yeah.
And I do a big twist at the end, but I'm not going to say what
I was going to say, don't tell us
Not
all,
gonna
but it
say
sounds
it.
so good.
Maybe in like 5 years you'll find out.
Yeah.
But
I'm pretty sure it'll be before 5. I'm rooting for you, man.
yeah, I'm gonna try. I do have some greatly supporting friends and family, especially my father and my mother, so they're willing to help me with this.
Yeah.
And I'm working on that. And there's a whole, like, literally, I have a whole entire world of characters that are in my noggin right
You
here.
know what? And good
You know?
work takes time. So if it does take that long, go ahead. But I want to hear it. I want to read it. You got me excited. And I want you to throw me in there too.
Hey, I will. I will.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I know we were talking before the show a little bit, and I thought that it was kind of a silly question to ask, but I wanted to touch back on it. It didn't turn out to be a silly question when I asked you, but I wanted to know what came first. Was it the love for art, or was it the love for like cartoons and things like that? And what did you say?
Okay.
Share with the people what you told me.
Well, it's not a silly question. I'm so glad you asked me that because, you know, it was really as simple as it sounds. It was the love of drawing. Ever since I was 6 years old, it didn't even start with anime and comic. It just started with me drawing. I would draw, you know, shoes. I would draw houses. I would draw animals and just all types of things. And I think that kind of ran in my family because my grandfather used to be an artist and he used to draw Disney characters, dogs, cats, all the type of stuff. So I used to draw myself, my family, you know, my mother, my father, everybody that I knew. And then along the line, me on Saturday morning, 5 years old, getting my bowl of Captain Crunch, watching Boomerang and Cartoon Network. That's when I put two and two together and was like, oh, well, this is a pretty cool concept. Let me mix that with my love of drawing. And then that's when those two worlds collided and my love of art came. So
cartoon kind of just boosted that love for art
oh
that you
yeah,
already had.
cartoon and anime boosted all the way up.
And I love that you said anime, and I wish that our other guest was here because I think that a lot of people who are in the drawing, a lot of artists really have this appreciation for anime, really have this passion for it. And I don't even know if I could even say that I've ever, you know, been a part of the community, but because it is a community, I know it is. But I mean, Dragon Ball Z is probably as far as I went. Is that even anime? Does it count?
Absolutely, it is.
Okay.
Matter of fact, R.I.P. to Legend. Recently, the creator of Dragon Ball Z unfortunately passed away.
Oh wow.
So yeah, but absolutely, Dragon Ball is definitely an anime, and I have appreciated anime ever since I was fortunate enough to discover it. And you know, it's just a wonderful thing because it's like the fact that somebody came up with a cool story with and really it's not just about the art, it's about the story and about the character development. It's about everything that they put into the work that they put into to make this wonderful story that makes positive impacts on many people in this world. Like there has been so many times where I have watched an anime or a cartoon and I've literally cried. I've been upset, like I've been joyful. Like anime has literally made my emotions go up to an all-time high because it's that important to me, you know, like it brings me joy in a way. And not only anime, but it's the Japanese culture as well. I really do appreciate that as well because it's such an interesting thing to get into and it's so fun. You know, it's like I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be 90 years old and I'm still gonna love anime. Like I'm still gonna love everything about it and I will never be ashamed about it because fortunately enough we live in a society where it's more accepting now. Because back, of course, when I was a little kid, they was like, oh, you're weird or you're not supposed to act that way. And I'm just like, well, I just like this. No, you shouldn't.
It's just like, it's crazy when people don't understand something, the audacity to be like, well, you're weird. Well, maybe in my world you're weird.
Right. Like I have my definitions
Yeah.
of weird. You have your definitions of weird. So, you know.
This is my norm. That's another thing that I like about being on the campus, but I won't even go there. It's just a mix of everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky to be there. I feel. I love that you brought up the fact that anime, you know, opens up your emotions, and it kind of just, it feels like it's like in tune with a lot of life lessons and things like that. And you also brought up Disney, you know, not to down talk Disney or anything like that, but
Absolutely.
shout out to Professor Neiman for being our teacher in race, class, and gender, and the things that we're learning about cartoons and how certain things are depicted. You can see that art can be used in many ways, and sometimes it's not always positive. So for artists like you to come up with, comic stories and some type of vision, different type of visions that kind of create this positive, positive light. I think that's really cool. And I love that it ties into peace. You guys, I'm going to make everything tie into peace. I really am, because storytelling is art. It really is. Art is storytelling. It helps the story get told. You get to put visuals to it. And unfortunately, even though some art is used for bad, let's just say bad for lack of a better word, there's so many great things that we could do with it. So
Absolutely.
do you have any thoughts when it comes to that? Because you did bring up the depictions and things like that.
Depictions. When it comes to like negative light and art, I don't have too much of a say in that. Like, my only thing is, as far as art, man, as long as you are happy with what you're doing, that's okay. But it depends on how far that you're willing to go. For example, with the Disney stereotypes back then, it was unfortunately common to have those certain jokes, and people would sweep that under the rug and be like, oh, that's just a little jokey joke, it's not meant to be serious.
Yeah.
But now, thank goodness, we live in a day and age where we can realize that some of those stuff that they did back then was not right.
Right.
It wasn't funny, it wasn't comedic, and it was actually pretty offensive.
True.
So when it comes to a negative light in art, I hope people, like, when it comes to art, like, personally, I just feel like in art you just have to have a positive, like, outcome to it. Like, of course, people will have another impact towards art. Like, for example, if they gone through something like a tragedy within their life, like depression or anxiety or any of those bad things that they've gone through, they can have art to influence them to express how they felt in those moments, and so on and so forth. That's technically is positive, because you are releasing that stress, those weight that is on your shoulders, and you are showing the world, hey, this is what I went through, and I don't want you to feel bad, but I want you to embrace what I went through. And as far as that, I feel like that's how art's supposed to be. Like, no matter what it is, it's supposed to have either a positive or an informal aspect behind it. It shouldn't just be straight up negative,
Right,
So,
right, or discriminatory at all.
Absolutely.
I think one thing that's crazy, or not really crazy, but ironic, is that as children we don't really catch these things, but then as adults we see the same thing and we're like, oh my gosh, all the hidden messages. Were adults even watching cartoons back then? That was really just for us. And it kind of makes me think, like, maybe I should be paying attention to these cartoons, especially if I have my children watching it too. I don't have any children, but if there are any around me, I actually like cartoon movies. Like, I went to go see Super Mario Brothers, and they definitely had a couple jokes in there for us that I'm sure went over the kids' head. But I still kind of enjoy it. But watching things that I used to watch back in the day is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they put this here, or that it was even approved to be on air type of stuff. It's crazy. But yeah.
Absolutely. I do agree with you. Like, cartoons and movies like that. I'm so glad you've seen the new Super Mario Bros. Movie, because, fun fact, I went to go see the Super Mario Bros. Movie in a Mario cosplay. That's another thing I like to participate in. I like to cosplay. And basically what cosplay means is you dress up as your own, like, character or video game character, movie character, anything you possibly want. So
you got to put me onto this cosplay, because
okay.
it might help me around Halloween time when I'm looking for a good costume or something like that. And I've seen people, like, I think there was this dad who took his daughter to see the Barbie movie, and he kind of like tricked out some type of outfit, or it could have been a different movie, but I feel like it was the Barbie movie. But I'm like, where did he even get this from? Where's the secret? What's the secret?
Honestly, it's pretty much your own creativity and what you're willing to put together. Like, for example, if I had to describe what my Mario costume is, this wasn't a regular Mario costume, right? I bought my own overalls. Okay. I wore a red shirt. I bought a couple of pins that had Mario characters on there, had a Yoshi plushie, right beside me and a mushroom book bag
So you
and
did
a
your
hat.
thing.
Yeah. So, when it comes to cosplay, personally me, I don't want to just be plain straight from the movie. I want to be unique.
Creative,
Like
yeah.
I want to mix my own essence into that cosplay. So like when it comes to cosplay, for example, let's say if you wanted to do a Barbie movie, shoot, I know me, I would dress up in like a pink shirt, blue jeans, some pink boots or something like that, and wear like a pink cowboy hat and mix it up a little bit, put some pins on and a book bag. I'll make it work,
Emmanuel, you got style. You got style. So the next movie I go see, I need you. I'm gonna call
Hey,
you. You
I'll
gotta help
come.
me hook my outfit up because this sounds fun. I would love to do it.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Let me just see what we got. Yeah. So I mean, future aspirations. You did talk about wanting to come out with your own comic series. Would it be a comic series or just comic book?
So I'm thinking about making it. So there's two things. So this graphic novel that I'm doing with the future of my dream, that's going to be strictly a graphic novel first, because what I'm going to do is I'm working on my writing ability right now. So it's going to be a mixture of writing and illustration. So those books that have one page of writing and then the other page is an illustration of what's going on.
Yeah.
And and also I love doing my own thing when it comes to art and my work, because it's my thing. I always want to be different than somebody else. I think that's what I've always liked to do as a kid. I always like to be different. So like I can imagine my graphic novel in the front, it'll have some illustration. In the back, it'll have some illustration. Maybe first 10 pages, it'll be writing. Then it'll be the next 30 pages, it'll be illustration. Then writing, illustration, so on and so forth. So, it's a mixture between writing and illustration. But then when I get more comfortable with my writing ability, I'm definitely going to be pulling out those comic books like no other. And actually, it's like kind of like, you ever heard of the term called manga?
I've heard of the term.
Right.
Break it down to me.
So the term manga means it's a Japanese-based comic book. And the pages are on backwards, funny enough, because they're from Japan. So it's not a stereotypical thing, but I think it's like a cultural thing in a way. I don't know the exact research on that, so I don't want to be like blamed like, oh, that's why they do it. Well, based off of what I know, their manga books are usually read backwards, so it starts from the back and then it ends at the front. But what I want to potentially do with these is I wanted to do something similar to that, but of course it will start from the front and then the back, and it will be strictly panels. So it'll be like panels, it'll be a little bit of text bubbles, so on and so forth. So that's like my version of comic books that I would do towards the future. And when it comes to that, like, that's another thing about art. Like, I do not care how famous I get or anything like that. I'm not expecting to be the next Van Gogh or the next like biggest artist. My whole goal when it comes to the art is to just show my world my creativity. Show them that, hey, this is an idea that I've had for a long time.
Right.
And I would like to show a couple of people what I'm able to do and what I'm able to express on based off of what I went through in my life and what I've seen. That's another thing when it comes to my artwork and specifically my stories that I'm going to make. These are going to be based off, it's a really interesting concept. These are going to be based off emotions that I have felt. These are going to be based off of situations that I went through. Not tragic situations, but more of like a mixture of positive and negative. It's also going to be based off of people that I actually know.
Sounds really transformational.
Very,
that.
very much. Yeah, that's because I feel like the story will come together properly that way, because I'm basically like shaping the story in my own way based off of what I went through. That's why I can be like different when it comes to my art and my comics, because it won't be like a generic like, oh, this boy got the powerful gem crystal and can save the day. I'm more like, well, this boy has some issues in his life that he would like to address, and he has a couple of responsibilities he has to attend to, and based off of that, he's gonna have to overcome that. So
I know that's right. I know that's right. I was just telling you before we went on air, like, and I still feel it. I can just hear it all up in your voice. Like, I was telling him, let me just finish the sentence, that I could see him being a teacher, an art teacher. I could see him talking to a group of aspiring artists, because you're so passionate and you go so much into depth. You have confidence, and I really enjoy hearing you talk about your passion. Have you ever collaborated with any other artists, or like, is that something that you'd even be interested in?
You know, interesting enough, that's something I would be greatly interested to, because I have done, of course, class projects. I have had somebody do a script based off of an illustration that I made. I also was the art club president at ECC.
Okay.
It was Erie Community College in Buffalo. It was downtown. I was the art club president for a while, so I managed to do an art show and everything like that. But when it came to my own art, I'm pretty much. It may sound like of course I'm like informal on what I know as far as like my artwork. I'm still fresh meat.
Still
Like,
fresh meat.
still fresh
you're the
meat.
president at the ECC's art, and that's
I
probably what I
know.
see in you. That's the teacher that I'm seeing. It's all over you, man.
Yeah, I'm still new into like the art world. It's more of like the art world. Like I got the information there. It's just like, okay, how can I get myself out there? How can people know about me or potentially understand my story and my intentions, so on and so forth. So, but that will be something I would definitely be interested in doing. Like,
Okay.
you know, if anybody would like to talk to me about my stories or about what they want to know, you know, about how to get into art, you know, just, yeah, I would love to.
No problem. I got you, man. If I hear about it, and I definitely want to connect you with our guy Gerald. And he couldn't be here today, but Gerald Goodwin is the creator of a 3-issue series, comic series called Kairu, the Slayer of Kaiju. And he's been doing really well with his series. It's been selling out. He actually had to order some new books to make sure that he had one to bring. But of course, unfortunately, he couldn't be here with us today. Hopefully we get him on the show, but I definitely got to get you guys connected.
Absolutely.
Because you guys have the same, kind of the same values. Not the same because we're all unique and we're all different people. But I mean, the love of art, the passion, the fact that you guys have attended a Comic-Con, and we got to get to that. You got to tell me a little bit about that.
Yes.
But I can just see you guys having great conversation. Maybe creating
Absolutely.
something.
Absolutely, yeah. I would love to meet the guy. So, you know, whenever the next time he's able to come on here, I would love to, you know, see him.
Yeah, no problem. But talk to me about Comic-Con. So I don't know anything about it. So how would you explain it for our viewers that have never been? And how was it for you?
Okay. So, very first experience going to Comic-Con ever was last year, and it was my birthday. I turned 21. Funny enough, turning 21, oh, he's going to a geek convention. I know. But it was my thing. I wanted to do it. I'm going to probably do it again this year. But think of it as a place where you get to meet people who have the same interests as you. For this circumstance, you have geeks, you have people who love anime, you have people who love to cosplay, you have people who are into artwork, and not just artwork, you have people that are into, you know, the Japanese culture, you have people that are into video games, you have people that are creating video games, people who are creating art. When you first step in, there's a whole bunch of panels and vendors and games and all that type of stuff. And the main point of it is to get all of these vendors, and mostly they consist of artists like me who've created social media and who want to bring their artwork out there and potentially sell it as well. You also have people who do cosplay for a living and create costumes. You have people who create video games, so on and so forth. You have people who have participated in big shows and who have actually made it there and made their own comics, made their own movies, and so on and so forth, and just come to give people autographs and just enjoy the surroundings and such. So it's definitely, it's a positive and heartwarming community based off of my first experience. I absolutely loved it. You know, like, me and my friends took a whole bunch of pictures. It's like I was dressed up as Mario, my friend was dressed up as Luigi, and like the whole group was dressed up as their own character, and we just walked around. And then that's another thing, like you don't even really have to like go to any vendors if you want to. You could literally just walk around and have the best time in your life because you're interacting with different people who may have the same costume as you or similar costumes as you or different, and you just want to take photos or you just want to make videos and interact, and it's just awesome. Like Comic-Con is definitely something I would recommend to everybody, to be honest.
Where did it take place?
So this Comic-Con I went to, it took place at UB. This was UB South Campus. My friend told me about this a couple of weeks before. She was just like, hey, they have a Comic-Con at UB and there's only like a $20 fee. Would you like to go? And I was just like, yeah, because I never went. So we went there and it was at the South Campus and it was absolutely awesome.
Does Buffalo host this every year or is it usually in different cities and states?
I think the UB anime club actually does this every now and then. And actually Buffalo has something called the Buffalo, I think it was the Nickel City Comic-Con.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm correct on that.
They do call us Nickel City though.
Yeah, Nickel City.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's this thing called Buffalo Nickel City Comic-Con, and I wanted to try to go to that this year, but they try to host that every single year, I believe.
Okay.
So that's another thing I'm trying to go to. I don't know too much about that one, but potentially it's the same thing, you know.
I like it. Buffalo's got some culture, man. Buffalo's got a lot of different things going on. I never would have thought. I never knew that there was a such thing as an anime club. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be interested. And from what I hear, college campuses aren't just for students. Sometimes people from the community can also collaborate and join. So I wonder if they have like people from the community that aren't students that are a part of that club. That's awesome. That's cool. What I was thinking when I think of Comic-Con, I just picture like this big old convention center, like maybe like the sneaker thing. And I'm not a sneaker guy either, but I've seen them. There's been a lot of sneaker conventions and stuff like that. And there's just like a whole bunch of vendors, whole bunch of shoes, whole bunch of people walking around looking amazing, and they know what they're doing. And I kind of just see, that's what I imagine Comic-Con would be like, but it sounds like a really amazing experience.
Absolutely. It's just like that, you know, like a Comic-Con doesn't have to necessarily be a Comic-Con. It can be a sneaker con. It can be a, I don't know, musical theater con. It could be a movie con. It's basically where a specific group of people who have similar interests come together to make a huge event for everybody within their community. That's the best way I can describe what a con is.
It sounds awesome. Con must be conference.
Absolutely.
We all meet together here with a shared interest. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, now we're in the open conversation section of the show. So anything you want to talk about or bring up?
If I had to think about any particular thing, I kind of talked a lot about what I wanted to talk about. Actually, I wanted to talk a little bit more about I would say my graphic novel. I would like to talk a little bit more about that if you don't mind.
Yeah,
I'm not
go
going to
ahead.
spoil the end because I know you're just like, don't spoil it.
Because I'm on it.
So if I wanted to potentially deconstruct my main character. So if you had to visualize this guy, you know, he's a tall 6'1" African American. He has nappy-ish hair. He has a little beard, you know. He wears this motorcycle jacket.
Goatee or beard?
Kind of goatee-ish type of thing. He wears this motorcycle jacket that his dad wore. And this is the interesting fact that I absolutely love, because another thing I would like to do is I love black excellence. So his father was his father's father was a member of the Black Panther Party back then. And that jacket has been passed down to him. And his father, I don't have a name for him yet, but he's potentially based off of my dad. Shout out my dad. And that motorcycle jacket has a picture of the Black Panther symbol on his chest. and he wears that all throughout his life ever since he was 6 years old.
Wow.
And the reason being is because his father taught him a lot about black history and about what black historical figures had to go through in order to achieve official equality and freedom. And even though in this day of age it's still kind of iffy, we still are at a good standpoint where we're able to understand, hey, you know, we know the difference between right and wrong when it comes to racism and when it comes to discrimination. So within that factor, Leon, he's a huge black activist. He's the type of dude that's just like power to the people type of dude. And he does not stand for anybody defying his race. And of course, he is not that type of person to be like, oh, we are the almighty, all this. He appreciates all races. He just wants the black race to be appreciated for who they are, and he wants us to be noticed. So of course he's more of like the power to the people, and his intentions are to, you know, become like a scholar just like his dad. And the reason behind that is because, you know, I'm going through Buffalo State at the moment. I want to try my best to become successful, and my father, he's a really, really intelligent individual, and he has taught me everything that I know today. And I kind of base that off of that relationship I have with my dad, because I potentially want to, you know, show myself and show my father and show the world that I'm capable of expressing myself to the highest capability. And in this graphic novel, Leon's goal is, you know, to potentially make his dad proud. But of course, he, you know, his dad is already proud of him, but he's just like, okay, what else can I do to make him even more proud? What else can I do in order to push?
Knock this guy's socks off.
Right. Like, okay, I really want to impress this dude. And what I would do with the twist is the science fiction. So during that time, you know, Leon, he's a different individual. He understands things more than the average. I depict a little part of the graphic novel when he was around 8 years old. He's eating a bowl of cereal. Imagine this. He's eating a bowl of cereal, and on the news is the president. He's just like, guys, there's a nuclear war going between China, Russia, and all of the big powerful countries, and we might need to evacuate soon. And Leon's sitting there. He's just like, what type of political power structure do we have in this world? And proceeds to eat his cereal. So ever since he was a little kid, he was aware of the amount of things that was going on within the government. I kind of give reference to that in the graphic novel as well. Not all of the problems that we have within, you know, this world we have today, but potentially the biggest ones. And the big one I'm going to represent is power. You know, people being power hungry, and Leon realizing that these senators and these politicians are only out here for power. So that's what I would like to do with that. And potentially throughout the story, the psychological thing goes from him being lonely because the human race was wiped out. So another scenario, he's like 30, 40 years old. He's walking through a distorted New York City, grass, moss, animals just running around in his nuclear waste. Of course, he's wearing a hazmat suit, and he's just wondering if his father is still alive, because the last thing he saw before his father threw him in that hatch, because he was gonna like throw his father in there himself, because he was like, no, I don't want my father to go.
I'm seeing like a
You know?
I Am Legend type of thing.
Right. That's why I kind of, so like with my stories, I like to bring pieces of other little, you know, stories and movies and such, and bring it all in one. So in this scene, he's just like, no, Dad, I don't want you to go. I don't want you to die. And his dad literally shoves him in there, and he says, I love you, son. And he closes the hatch. And 30 years later, he's like 40 years old. He's walking through here. And this is where the psychological horror starts. This is kind of also a reference from Get Out. So the sunken place in Get Out, I kind of made that into a person specifically an entity, and this entity's name, I love saying this name, the personification of loneliness.
I remember.
This is a all black figure with white eyes, and he follows Leon throughout the story. And the reason why he follows Leon is because Leon is slowly but surely becoming insane, because he thinks that there's still survivors out there. So he has his trusty metal baseball bat. He's just like, okay, I'm gonna find people, I'm gonna hunt for food and such. And be aware, this dude, he wasn't taught to hunt or anything like that. So, he had struggles with it. And another cool aspect I'm going to add to this story is another cool fact about me is when I do these drawings, I listen to a lot of music. And specifically with this character Leon, I can see it right now. I listened to this song by Tama Impala, and it's called Let It Happen. The basis and the main point of that story, or not story, but song, is that whatever comes to you in life and whatever happens, just let it happen. And don't matter what it is, just embrace it. It's kind of like a double entendre in this.
Que sera, sera.
Right. Because Leon is not accepting the fact that he's alone, and he won't let it happen. So I'm blasting this song in my ears, and I'm drawing this character. And it's kind of like a sensational high in a way, because it's so cool to like combine music with these characters, because it makes their personality and it makes their story.
You know what? It makes me think about how, like actors have to like jump right into the part that they're playing, and it seems like you like are fully there as you're writing, or as you're thinking about these things. It seems like you're already embodying the characters that you have in mind. Is that true?
Absolutely. I always do. Every character that I draw, I try to take in the mind and the soul of that character, because not only do I want to understand that character, but I want the people that will be reading this to understand that character, even if they don't understand it fully. But people who have gone through things like this, or people that have listened to scenarios like this, they can understand, So that's why I have this character Leon like this, because a lot of people can relate to a black man trying to make sure he makes his parents proud, to make sure that he gets the best education that he can. And also, unfortunately, with the I've noticed with my generation that our teenagers and our young people are going through the worst mental health crisis. And I've gone through it as well. Like, there has been times in my life where I have not felt good at all. And that's another thing what I want to do with these stories. I want kids, teenagers, adults, anybody to read this and be like, I went through that before. Like, his sadness or her sadness, or or their sadness for non-binary, I want them to see that and be like, I went through that. Like, I'm so glad they brought that up, because either their parents don't believe them, or they're not getting the right support of that, or they have gone through the social construct of like, oh, I can just suck it up and I'll be okay. No. Let your feelings loose. There's going to be times where you're going to have to let out a cry, and it is okay. I have cried so many times in my life, and I accepted it, because it's just like, you got to let it out. You have to let it out. And if you don't, it's going to hurt you like crazy. So with these stories, it's not really a cry for help, but it's like, again, it's me letting off stress on my shoulders, while at the same time expressing my creativity. So that insaneness that Leon is going through, I can kind of relate to that, because there's been times in school, like I'm personifying that with school, when there's been times where I felt like this work was too much, and I'm just like, what is going on? I'm going to keep pushing it. I'm going to keep going. And it's just like, ugh. So I related into that aspect. I also relate into my education. I really try my best to make sure that I do good in school, and I used to be a perfectionist. And what that is where you think everything should be right, and everything has to go right, or
Kind
it
of bothers
would
you
just,
if it's not right.
right. It would just all come tumbling down if it doesn't go right. So with these graphic novels, I'm letting people know it's okay. You know, you can look back and you can realize that you go through these things. You know why? Because you're human. With these characters that I make, that's the difference. Because, you know, with anime, you got those gods, you got those sorcerers and all that. Most of my characters are going to be human. You know, they're going to experience human emotions. They're going to experience pain. They're going to experience depression. They're going to experience joy.
It's not going to be too much sci-fi.
Right. Not too much. Maybe a tiny bit, of course, because I do love my sci-fi. I do love my, you know, sorcery and all that type of stuff. But all things when it comes to this, like graphic novels or these comics or any type of art, they're related to human emotion and human thought. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That was a lot. I like it. And I wanted to, I think you kind of already touched on it because you are a student right now, and you were talking about how Leon was noticing these things and, you know, politics and what was really right and what really didn't seem like it was, you know, for the good. Does like the knowledge that you've been learning as a student, do you put that in the stuff that you're writing?
Absolutely. I do it every time I do my art, because I basically, like, that's why I'm going for journalism, because at the same time I love my art, but at the same time I'm really interested into the world and what they have to say and other people's opinions, so on and so forth. And specifically, like, it doesn't have to necessarily just be politics. It can just be normal everyday things. So like with this instance, you know, I do talk a lot about, like in this graphic novel, I'm going to talk a lot about politics. And in my future ones, I'm going to talk specifically about the black community. I'm going to talk about how black men go through society with certain stereotypes. I'm going to talk about how black women go through certain stereotypes. And I'm not just going to bring it down to that race, because I don't want people to think, oh, he's all about black. I mean, I definitely support the black community. Absolutely. Yes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a mixture of all races. So I'm going to have Asian in there. I'm going to have Hispanic in there. I'm going to have Native American in there. And when it comes to that, that's why I want to become a journalist, is because I want to do research on these type of things so I can get everything right. So I won't offend anybody and just like say this stereotypical thing and then they're just like, oh, that's not right. So I want to make sure everything, even with the black community, because I'm still learning so much about my people to this day.
Thank you.
So, you
I
know,
agree.
there might be things I say in there that might be wrong, and if I do, please tell me, because I will do
Reach
my
out
research.
and we can fix it, because I know what it looks like to not actually do it.
You know, yeah, because I don't want to just be the type of person to be like, oh, let me just write this, and that's all I know from childhood.
But
No,
this will be like
you know?
comic, right?
Right.
I think
This will
that's
be comic.
awesome. It's
Yeah.
different. When I think of comics, I think of people who are probably into a lot of games, or like the newspapers. They used to have comics. I don't remember, like, just hearing you talk about a black man and you know, being inspired by his father and things like that. Like, that's awesome to me. I would totally be interested. I think it's a way to reach a total different demographic of people that probably didn't even think that they would be interested in comics.
Right.
You know? So I love it.
I want that little boy sitting on Grand Street, that's like looking through his phone and he sees his comic. He's like, oh, he reminds me of my dad.
Yeah.
Or, you know, or that little girl is like, oh, he reminds me of my dad. So on and so forth. So that's what I want to do. I want to show the world that everybody has a story. That's another thing. You know, I don't want to just bring it down to one particular group. Everybody has their story. Everybody has their challenges. Everybody has their feats. And everybody has their success stories. So I would like to express that within my art. That's why I say 5 years, because like I may have this idea right now, but I might find out more things about the world and be like, oh shoot, I need to add that in there. You know what I'm saying? So I might have a whole lot of other things I want to add. So
I love
I'm
it.
always doing it. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for coming on the show and sharing all of that. If people want to reach you or get a look at your artwork, how would we do that?
Okay, so I have an Instagram. I have an art Instagram. I also have a regular Instagram, but specifically for this, I'll put in my art Instagram. It's all lowercase. It's Eman the artist. It's EMMAN dot the THE dot artist ARTIST
On Instagram,
on
guys.
Instagram. Yeah,
Eman the artist.
Eman the artist.
And it'll also be posted up here in the link. We're going to go ahead and get ready to go off air. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It's been great. And once again, this has been Talking Peace with the Western New York Peace Center. Today's topic was how art can tie into mental health therapy. Thank you all. Have a good one.